So today we're going to be doing the look that I have on now. So it's just a purple blown out smoky eye with some glitter on the inner corners, and then as usual a nude glossy lip. So if you want to see how I create the look that I have on now, make sure to keep on watching and I'll see you at the end. Let's go. So as usual, I've already went ahead and primed my eye using the Peel Away base. So the first colour I'm going to take is this colour here, and I'm going to take that on the Buff and Blend BB06, so just a big fluffy blending brush, and I'm just going to start working that into the crease. And as I was saying in the last video, because the base is still tacky, the first shade is always a little bit harder to blend out, so just make sure you keep on doing loads of circular motions just to buff it out, and then all the other shadows will blend a lot easier on top. So I'm just going back in with that colour once more and just building it up until I'm happy with the colour. So the next shade I'm going to take is this dark brown shade just above the black in the palette, and I'm taking that on the same brush. Oh my god, seriously. So I'm just taking that shade on the same brush and just working that below the first shade, and again I'm flicking out at the edges just to keep that winged out shape, and then just going back in with the same shade again and building it up. So now I'm going to dip into the dark brown beside the colour we used beforehand, and I'm going to take that on a Zoeva 228 brush, and I'm just going to start to deepen the outer corner. So I'm just pressing the product onto the outer corner where I want most of the colour payoff, and then once there's nothing left on the brush, I'm going to start to work that to the crease then. So next I'm going to dip into this really dark brown next to the black in the palette, and I'm taking that on an Inglot 48SS brush, so an even smaller blending brush. So I'm just patting that dark brown the whole way across the lid, and I'm going to go back in with that Zoeva brush just to blend out the edges. So just really small circular motions to blend out the lid colour, and again I'm just making sure to wing out that edge. So next I'm just taking the black from the palette, and I'm taking that on the same brush that we used for that dark brown, so the 48SS brush, and I'm just going to pat that all over the lid, and again I'm not taking it as high as that dark brown, so I'm just patting that along the lash line, and I'm just going back in with that Zoeva brush to make sure that the edge is nice and blended and winged out. So for the pigment on the lid, I'm going to take this pigment from Inglot. This is number 120, and I'm just going to take that on a flat brush. This one is the Inglot 22T brush, and I'm not going to use a base. I'm just going to go straight in with the pigment on top of the shadow, and I'm just pressing that on the very inner corner, just the very inner half of the lid, and I'm kind of just feathering and tapping the edges. So I like to just go in with the pigment straight away onto the lid, and then I use dual glue to intensify like the middle of the pigment. So I'm just tapping that all over the inner corner and blending it a little bit out onto the middle part, just so we don't have any like harsh line of where the pigment stops. Then I'm going to take the pigment in the shade 112, and I'm just going to add a little bit of duo glue just to the centre of where I applied the first pigment. So I'm taking that 112 pigment on the same flat brush, so the 22T, and I'm just going to apply that on top of the duo glue just in the middle of where I put the first pigment. So next I'm just taking this loose glitter from Inglot. This is the XL7 Body Sparkle, and I'm just taking a little bit more duo glue, and I'm going to press that in the very centre, and I'm just very lightly tapping that glue around where I applied the pigment, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of that XL7 glitter over top. So I'm going to take that first shade in the palette and use that on my inner corners. And then I'm just adding a little bit of that 112 pigment over top. Then for underneath, I'm going to take Inglot's kohl pencil in 01, so just a black kohl pencil. And I'm just going to pop that in my waterline. And then I'm just taking an Inglot 13P brush and using that black. And I'm just going to use that to buff out the kohl pencil. So I'm just going back in with an Inglot 19P brush, and I'm going to take a mixture between these two browns just to blend out the black on the bottom lash line. So I'm going in with the darkest brown first just to blend out the black, and it doesn't matter if you take this down a little bit low at the start because we can always clean it up with concealer. Then I'm going to take the slightly lighter brown on the same brush, so I'm taking that slightly lighter brown then just to blend out the dark brown. So I'm just going in with this concealer brush from Penny's. This one is the 141 Touch Up brush, and I'm just using whatever was left on my brush just to blend out the very edges of that brown and kind of create the shape that we want. And I'm going to add a little bit of this Stila liquid glitter. This one is in the shade Sunset Cove. And I'm just going to pop that on the very inner tear duct on the bottom lash line. And then just pop a little bit more just on the very inner part of the inner corner highlight. And then over top I'm going to go in with these glitters from the Glitter Station. I'll link their Instagram down below. So I'm just using my Inglot lip brush and I'm just popping a little bit of duo glue just where I want to put the glitter. And then I'm just dipping straight into the pot with that brush and I'm just going to press the glitters into the inner corner. And for lashes, I'm just going to pop on the Sosumi lashes in the Style Dubai. So I'm just popping on my lashes then. So that there is the finished eye look. So I've just zoomed this out to finish the rest of my face. So I already have on my base. So for foundation I used the Nars foundation in the shade Stromboli. And then for bronzer, as usual, I use the MAC Give Me Sun bronzer. And then as usual for blush, I went ahead and used my Primark or Penny's blush in the shade So Peachy. So for lips, I'm going to use my Primark Toffee lip liner. So I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills lipstick in the shade So Peachy. And then over top, I'm just going to pop on some of the Anastasia lip gloss in the shade Undressed. So yeah, that there is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a little thumbs up. I'm going to leave my Instagram and all that jazz down below. And yeah, I hope to see you in my next one. Hopefully I'm going to do a little haul video next. I'm just waiting to move into my new bedroom. I'm waiting on my mirror to arrive so I can do like full outfit shots of everything that I bought. So yeah, that's it for today and then I'll see you in my next video.